Well, I just want to kind of give you a brief flyover, kind of a navigational orientation of the class. I don't want to get in too much into the weeds because in this video it would go on forever. But anyway, this week I have this as a home page. This video that I'm making will go right above the word contact. And it's a welcoming video, letting you know we've got a 6-week course, which will do the work of an 18-week course at most semester schools and a 16-week course at Ohlone. So we move quickly, probably 10 or more hours a week, sort of a minimum expectation. So if you're somebody who's got a pretty steep week with work or other obligations, you might want to reserve Saturday morning or Sunday morning or part of one or both days to take the more time-consuming projects, get going on them. And let's see, I'll be here 7 to 8 on Mondays. Starting tonight, we can arrange individual Zoom sessions. They come in really handy when you want to get around to revising essays or if you have questions about the assignments and things like that. So it's, keep in mind I'm open. I'll be there. I'll give you feedback on your homework. And hopefully I'll, provide enough information and guidance to make you stronger readers and writers. Let me get into the overall view of the modules. This is all about me, the class, a course Q&A link if you want to ask questions of other students. Required materials, I'll say briefly, the textbook, Merchants of Doubt by Naomi Oreskes is the sole material that's required. And then I'll add a caveat, which I can't put in the syllabus because I need a textbook in the syllabus, is that if you Google the title, Naomi Oreskes, Merchants of Doubt, Google Books, you will find, or just Merchants of Doubt, Google Books, you'll find enough of a copy to get you through in the preview, the introduction in chapter 1. And then I do have a PDF for the other long chapter we're going to read. Probably about 90 or 100 pages out of a 400-page book is what we're going to use to give us the background in the disinformation campaigns we're going to look into. I don't want to get too much in the weeds on that. Let me just say that the book, you can buy it. It's a great book. The parts we're going to use, though, introduction chapters 1 and chapter 6, you don't necessarily have to buy it to get, okay? So if you bought it, great. It's worth reading. Don't worry about it. But if you didn't, we got to get started like tomorrow on this, so Tuesday. So get the dang book, okay? Or understand that I have it here and you can use what I provide, but be expected to use the book in some fashion, basically now. Usual stuff, student support, tutorials, Canvas app, tech support, something about plagiarism. I think you all get that pretty well anyway. And then we move into the first unit, which would be chapters, or rather weeks 1 through 4, which will end with the first essay. And that's going to be a lot of critical reading of the book. You're going to have a ton of historical and contextual information, but you're going to have targeted reading on the strategies of disinformation used by the fossil fuel industry and the tobacco industry. And what you're going to do is write a synthesis that compares how the tobacco and fossil fuel industries use the same strategies. Why do I do that? Because I want you to think in a critical thinking class on the level of strategies, logical fallacies, manipulating people. And that's the one thing that's central to the class, but also their core academic skills of critical reading. That is not just sort of reading, but reading, getting it, and also getting information based on a prompt, getting the best quotes to support your ideas. So it's going to be a lot of critical reading, and then when you get into critical writing, this is a composition class as well, how to shape that, how to paragraph it, how to roll the paragraphs into an essay, and then critical thinking, something that goes beyond the text, which is where you're going to, use your own sense, intelligence, and explain why this messaging, this disinformation, that the tobacco industry created to confuse people about the dangers of smoking, that the fossil fuel industry used to confuse people about the dangers of CO2 information, why their tactics appealed to the general public, why their tactics appealed to politicians and legislators. So what we're going to look at is not only the arguments in themselves, but also the arguments in their appeal. And so that's going to be the first essay. You're going to look at about 10 hours a week or so, minimum, as I said, a little bit more. All the assignments are lined up here. And then these first few weeks, going through chapter 1 in this week and next week, chapter 2, which is really kind of a big read. So week 3 is going to be pretty steep. And then your first essay, which we'll pull back on the readings. But again, this is an important thing for you to improve your writing skills. I am an English teacher. I can help you have really well-shaped essays. You're always going to be integrating quotes because that's an essential skill. I wouldn't be doing you a favor if I didn't really work with you on that. And so that's roughly what we're going to do the next 4 weeks. Is we're going to start off here with a movie that'll take you 3 or 4 hours to do the exercise on Friday. Also, we're going to get into the book, just a shorter reading for the first week. And then next week, we're going to do a lot more with the book. Longer reading, more intensive responses, getting into paragraphing. And then in week 3, we've got a really pretty challenging long chapter. But again, critical thinking, critical reading, critical writing. All of this is on the right level for the college class. And I think what you learn here will help you in a lot of classes. And then finally, we get into the essay. So that's how far I've built it out so far. And in my view, you can see that they're weeks 5 and 6, but I will not have those organized till later this week. I've got to shuffle things to go from an 8-week to a 6-week format. Now, when you get into each week, you're going to have kind of a introductory pages here. You'll have, supportive videos. Usually I give you the time. All of that's going to help you understand the topic. You get a nice visual of our topic. This is in relation to fossil fuel industry, the sort of history of fossil fuel, disinformation, really picking up steam and funding in the 80s and 90s. Big oil people, American Petroleum Institute, the Koch brothers, conservative industrialists, wealthy people like the Mercers, outlier scientists like Willie Soon. All of these people are going to try to say that it isn't happening. And then they're going to get echoed by politicians who either distrust environmentalists or at least are funded by the oil industry. And then you'll have these standalone contrarian scientists, people who, there are people today who don't think HIV causes AIDS. There are always going to be outliers, but you give these outliers a big enough voice, what you have then is kind of a chorus of disinformation that reaches deeply into the general public. And that's what it's really about. And then we'll even follow through with the think tanks, the Heritage, the Heartland Institute, and politicians on the vanguard, like Mr. Trump, who pulled us out of the Paris Agreement. He used all of the fossil fuel industry argumentative tactics that we're going to learn to convince people that not only was the Paris Agreement, on international agreement on CO2 emissions limitations, a dumb idea, but also that, climate change is no big thing anyway. So it's really kind of fun to see how all of this stuff gets started, gets spread, and then suddenly you have the person in the White House actually singing the song for the fossil fuel industry. Really fascinating stuff. So each unit will start off with what we'll be doing. I'll replace this video here, or rather this video will be here, it's for the movie, but I'll usually have orientation videos for each assignment, and I'll have a short list that gives you an idea of how much time it's going to take, and I'm going to kind of leave it at that here. Lots of orientation. Don't just go to the assignments. but go through the modules. I'll have supportive videos on reading, on writing. I'll also have a short list so you can look ahead each week and see, oh, okay, that's what we're doing in week 2. I get it. That's what we're doing in week 3. That's what we're doing in week 4. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. I think you can know your way around. I'll be here from 7 to 8 this Monday and every Monday. And I welcome you to the class. I hope this helps you kind of get a grounding on what the class is about.